So we are going to study now about this communication with database through SQL Server using front-end application. That part we'll discuss. And after completion of this topic, we'll go to C#.NET and see how do you make a connection from C#. What is the approach? That part we have to discuss. Now, first thing important for this topic is now the first point that you find is here. SQL Server software comes with 4 servers, I said. How many? 4 servers. And for us, we require only one server, and that is database server. We need only database server. So for that, first option everyone requires is server type. All require this. Okay. You need server type here for SSMS, and the same thing is needed for Sqlcmd, and same thing is needed for C#.NET application. Everyone. What do you call this? Here I'll write here. ST. For us it is server type, because that place is not sufficient there. So for that reason I just added with shortcut there. But you can refer on the top. I'm giving a description. This is first option required. Server type. Which server? Talking about which server? You need database server. This database server associated with what? Database engine. Database engine. Database engine is associated by one service. By one service. If it is running, then you can connect it to, then you can work with DB server, else leads to error as server not found. Server was not found. Yes, this is all about server type. Okay, which server I already highlighted. Second thing needed, everyone needed, is instance name. Everyone needed. It is instance name. Here I write here 2. Instance name. Yeah. Which instance? 2 options you have under instance. default instance, and you have named instance. Default instance, you should just write your system name, you should write. And for named instance, you should write system name / instance name also you should write. Two things you have to specify for named instance. There is second option needed. Second option needed. And third option required. Third option required is third option. Here I'll write SN. Hmm. Second option will be both actually. Both. Second one. Server name and instance name. Both I have written both. Server name and instance name. Okay. This is second and third, both are covered. And I'm going to describe this now. I won't write this, we'll talk about it later. Adjust here. So everyone require what now? Server name. Everyone needed. Then what do you need? Instance name. Instance. How many options now? 3. Server type, server name, instance. 3 options are server type, server name, and instance name. And first thing we talk about server name. Server name. Which server? Local or network or remote. Local server, network server, remote server. So obviously we are going to talk on local server only. 3 options we have. It will show only 2 for me, local and network, because for remote server you have to configure internet things in SQL Server. I have to configure internet related things in SQL Server. So definitely I'm not talking about that. So 2 are there. So in that, what is our choice? Local server. In that we have again instance name. Instance name. And under instance name, 2 things I said. Default instance, named instance. Default instance and or named instance. That is third option. And fourth option we have is authentication. I write in short, okay? AUTH. AUTH, but here I'll write authentication. AUTH I said, authentication. That is your third option. Authentication. Everywhere you should write. Here, authentication. Here also you need authentication. Here also you need authentication. Under authentication, SQL Server has two options. One is called Windows authentication, and second we have SQL Server authentication. Windows authentication means Windows authentication means works with Windows OS credentials. Windows OS credentials. SQL Server authentication means works with SQL Server working with works with SQL Server credentials. Credentials. Authentication. Windows authentication, SQL Server authentication. And another interesting thing here is Windows authentication, because it will work on Windows OS credentials, so it is also called trusted connection. Trusted connection. Finally, fourth option. Fourth, that is database. Database. Everyone needs database as well. You need database here. You need database here. You need database here. Okay. And C sharp requires few additional things. CP, and you need even MARS. MARS, MARS, MARS. These are additional things needed for C sharp. Okay, for whom it is needed? For C sharp, C sharp. Okay, CP is connection pooling. Mars is multiple active result set. And what's the process now? Here, I'll write that options also. Those options also, I'll write somewhere here. For C sharp, I'm writing. Fifth, CP. Connection pooling. Sixth one, Mars. Multiple active result set. Mars. And finally, it will make a connection. Process goes like this. SQL Server Management Studio will go to connection process, and through the connection process, it will go to SQL Server software. Same thing. Sqlcmd will go to connection process, and from then it will go SQL Server. C#.NET application requires same connection process, and it will make C# also does same. Thus, these are the things that we need to know when you go with when we go with what connection process from front end to back end connection process that has 5 option in common. 5 option in common. What are they? Server type, server name, instance name, authentication, database. Which database? Your created database. Whatever you create, that database. What is that called? Anything you say. User defined database is because it is created by you. Or you can call another name. Business database. User defined database or business database. So database created by developer. Database created by user. Either you refer user defined database or you call this as what is user defined database, or you call by what name? By what name you can call user defined database, or what you call business database. Business database. Clear now how the process. Now we have to see where all these things are available, because however we are not going with C# program immediately. First I'll talk on SSMS and I'll demonstrate all these things. Exit. Or let it be. We'll just open SQL Server Management Studio. So how do you open SQL Server Management Studio? Start run. SSMS. You have to install your product first. You have to install your SQL Server first. Then only you have a provision of working with it. Click OK. Start run SSMS. So SSMS is now a tool. It is a tool, or it is called IDE. It is a tool or IDE. From here you get user-friendly support to communicate with database. Here you see first option, server type, database engine. Database engine. Total 4 servers I said. Don't forget please. 4 servers. Database server, integration server, reporting server, analysis server. 4. So obviously whatever you are seeing with respect to this is always what? Database engine is associated to what now? Database server. And this database engine is connected to one service also. That part also I'll demonstrate. Connect now. Immediate it will connect. Yes, connected. Yes, it is connected. Okay. Now, coming to another important thing here, we already find that you are connected to database engine. What is it? I said it is connected with one service. Connect again. Yes, here database engine. The moment you click connect, it is connecting. Connected. But now, if I stop that service, open services.msc. Open this application. Services.msc. SQL Server service. Here I have. Here running. Simply shut down this. Stop. So the service stop. Yes, it is stopped, not running. Come back. Now you connect again. This time it is error. It won't connect now. So that service is that important for us now in order to communicate with database server. So that service is controlling total database server. Error. Here, server was not found or was not accessible. Enable that service. Select this start. Okay, now service started for default instance. Service started for default instance. Then I started. I started. Close this. Now connect. Direct it will connect. Now disconnect again. Again connect. Here you can see database engine. If you click on this drop down list, you'll get integration, reporting, analysis. We need only database. And second, what do you find? Server name. Two things will be covered here. Server name plus instance name, both. Server. Obviously, this the name what you find here, desktop hyphen. This is my system name. So means now we are connecting to local server. Local. So it means I'm working with SQL Server, which is available on the same machine. Real time it will not be happening so. You will be working as client and SQL Server software will be available in another machine. SQL Server software will be available in what? Another machine. And you will be working as what? Client. So in that scenario, when you connect with server, you will be giving server machine name, not your system name in real time. But for us now, C Sharp and SQL both are in the same machine. So obviously I'm working on what? Local server. Now to connect to local server and that too with the default instance. Default instance. So you have four provisions now. Already you find my system name, desktop 9DJ something we have. If you feel that name is lengthy, you can't remember. Sometimes now system names are all like in this way only. If you feel this is lengthy, creates confusion, and difficult to remember, do one thing. Server name, just keep dot. Enough. Connect local server. Just dot. Dot indicates local server. Default instance it can. If not dot, local host. Connect. Either you write your system name or you keep your dot or you type localhost or you type 127.0.0.1. Connect. Then also it will come. So 127.0. But I feel, but which server? Local, no? So why are you typing all this? Don't type. You can get like this. Click on drop down list. Here you have browse for more. You have local server, network server. So network will not work for me because I am working on a single system. So I don't have another system where I can make a connection. So obviously I'm going to work on local server. Which service? Which server? Database engine. Here you have default instance, named instance. Two times I have installed SQL Server software in my machine. First time when you have installed, it's referred as default instance. Second time, I gave the name for that second installation as server one. That is named instance. For default instance, there is automatic name, but that name does not appear here. And default instance name is MS SQL Server. Say OK. Connect. Yes. Again connect. Authentication is what now? Windows authentication. So when you're working with Windows authentication, you can see here already username password, both of them. Username and password, both of them are disabled. You can't type there for Windows authentication. Why? For Windows authentication, it is going to use the username and password which you have provided at your operating system. Whatever username and password, whatever what username and password provided at Windows OS. With that username and password, it will connect to server. That is the reason this Windows authentication you refer as trusted connection, because it is dependent. SQL Server is trusting my OS, Windows OS. Right? Mm. So an SQL Server, there only you have an option here. You have an option. Click SQL Server Authentication. The moment you click on SQL Server Authentication, here it is asking login name, password. And for SQL Server Authentication, by default, software will provide a login called SA. Default login that comes along with your software, I'm saying. SA. Password I gave for this 123. Connect. Yes, got connected. Right? And once you give username, SA, password 123, and when you click on connect, it will connect with, yes, SQL Server Authentication. Here it finds SA as login. Default login provided by SQL Server software. And password also you have to set during the installation of SQL Server. And whatever you did here, whatever you have done here, whatever you have done, same thing you are going to try. Same thing you are going to do now by using C# application. Same thing. If you created your personal account in SQL Server, then you can connect to your own account. You don't need to connect to SA login, because SA real time, no company will give you to work with SA login. No company, because that is actually a system administrator login it is, system administrator account it is. So definitely it won't allow you to work on that. If you want to work with your personal login and password, not with Windows, then you should register your login first here. You should register your login. Then only you can work. Okay, this is not needed for you. Only a small demonstration I would like to give so that you can have an idea of what is here. Let's say 123 connect. We'll create one login. Security logins. Right click. New login. Login name. Sql Server Authentication. Login name. Srinivas. Password. I'll give Reddy. Capital REDDY. Same REDDY. Confirm password. No policy, nothing. I don't want. Right? But after that, what you do after creating this login by name Srinivas, click on OK. That's over. Created. Srinivas login is created. You don't want to work with SA, so disconnect them. Connect them. Change this login. Srinivas Reddy connect. Connected. Now this is your login. Your personal login. You're going to work with your account. Real time mein, DBS will do this for you ready made. You're only supposed to use that login, whatever they share with us. Because you don't have any authorization to work on server except database administrator. If you want to disconnect now, disconnect. And you know what is the other advantage? Why they create your personal login? Why? So that you, when you create your, whenever they create a personal login, you alone can work on the database. Now, currently, I created Srinivas login, and Srinivas is not permitted to do anything in his login. He can't work with any database. If he tries to open DevDB, developer database, if he tries to open, it will be error for him. Error. Not accessible. You can't. Not accessible. You can't. Nothing. You can only enter into your login. That's it. Disconnect. Again connect. Go to SA. I want to remove SA 123. Connect. Just overview. You can't work on, because if I start talking on security part of SQL Server, that requires days together to understand that. That little patience you require, dedication is required, and there are a lot of basic things required. So we don't want to put things onto that level of implementation now. So I just have shown you. Now Srinivas log, can you enter into Srinivas login? Yes, you can. But can you work with any database in it? No. Then what you can do, just you can enter into Srinivas login. You can just go to different menus, you can do some stuff, but you can't Okay. So, and what we do is when we start our practicals in C Sharp, when we do some examples, we will work on SA login only, because now I can't show you all that stuff now. How to create login, how to give privileges, how to create users in the login, and how to give database access permission, and how to make the database available for public. Those all things will go to some other level of study, some other level of implementation. So we don't need. So even Srinivas login which I created, I'll delete it. Go to login. Here we have Srinivas login. Right click, delete. Okay. Yes. Drop failed. What? Essay. Delete. Drop failed. Could not drop login Srinivas as the user is currently logged in. Where I already disconnected now. Okay, might be in background. It is still open for me. Okay, fine. So we'll do one thing. We'll connect again to SA. Connect. Okay. Now security. Login. Srinivas. Delete. Okay. What happened? Much happened. First we'll see background process. Okay. Right click. Process. 10 DB running report server master. Here Srinivas still running. This is the problem. It is unable to drop. 57. Okay. 57. New query. Kill. 57. Execute. Yes. Close. Now go to Object Explorer. Same thing you do. Repeat. Refresh. Security. Login. Srinivas. Right click. Delete. Say OK. Say OK. Gone. Correct. Okay. So however, that we are going to work on what? SA login. But real time mein, you don't expect it. This is our personal system. SA login password we have set. So we can do that. Okay. So SA login has been set with password. So we can work on that. Disconnect again. Connect. Okay. SA. SA 123. Connect. But what is, which I'll show you through program. Windows and SQL. If I go with Windows authentication, username password is disabled. Yes, disconnect. And which database? Management Studio especially. This Management Studio by default works with the master database. by default. The moment it makes a connection, it works with what? Master database. How do you justify? Open new query, you can find here. Default is master database by default. You're available with what? Master database by default. Okay, default is master database. And how to justify that? That is the first database working. You can check its ID, db underscore id execute. One first database, master database. What is the database name? Select db underscore name, master data. Yes, I close. This is all about SSMS. So what is Sqlcmd? SSMS is GUI, it is graphical user interface. Sqlcmd is CUI, character user interface. Character user interface. How do you open Sqlcmd? Start run cmd, go to command prompt. You should write Sqlcmd, enter. Yes, one indicates you are connected. If you want to, you can write same whatever query. Just now I've written the same queries I'm writing. db underscore id, go. One, select db underscore name, go. Master. That is Sqlcmd. From here also you can communicate with database. From here also you can communicate with database. Okay. And now we are going to learn evolution of ADO.NET. Till now, whatever we have done is about connection process. How do you make connection process? That part I've explained. That picture will help you when we connect to database and SQL Server from C# application. And here under evolution of ADO.NET, how ADO.NET has come into existence. How? What is the C? I mean, what were the old techniques and what is the new technique now? So old techniques may you could find all these things. One, evolution of ADO.NET. That's how it has come. Old technique was something called native drivers first. So it was like this. It was like this. So using this native driver, we used to have a communication with the database. This old technique, lengthy technique. To overcome this, we have been made available. Second thing, we have Odbc Driver. This was one more technique we had for communicating with database. ODBC. After that, they introduced one more, DAO or DRO driver. DAO, data access object. DRO, remote data object. Data remote object or remote data object, anything is fine. DRO. Differences between these two: DAO will support to work with MS Access. DRO will support to work with Oracle, SQL Server, every database. But DAO, DRO drivers will not allow you to work with files, text file, Excel file, CSV file. You can't work. They can only work with backends. So to overcome all these, Microsoft introduced our topic, ADO.NET, that is called ActiveX Data Object, ADO. Advanced, you can say, advanced of all the drivers, best way to communicate. Simplest way and strong way of communicating with database. Simplest and strong. Simplest because we don't have no complication, nothing in making even connection. Simple statement they give, through that you can make communication. Strong connection, just like that it doesn't break your connection every time. Two things I said. What is it? Simplest and efficient. Strong. And even ADO will support you to access files also. Databases, however, it will access, even it will access Excel file, CSV file, text file, all options they give through ADO. Right? That's it. Tomorrow's class, first I'll cover architecture of ADO.NET. We'll cover that part first.